Welcome to another episode of Modern Bok. Thank you for joining me today. So I thought today I'd do a little bit of a call with SkinnyBru on his channel and on my channel. We're just kind of discussing the upcoming games, the big focus points, the possible upsets, obviously the big South Africa-New Zealand game, and how they all go. But yeah, let's first introduce. Hey man, how you doing?
It's going good, man. I'm feeling welcome on your channel. It's my first time actually doing this on someone else's channel. I've done it on mine. So hopefully all of this goes well.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me. I'm honored to be the first you've entered into another channel with. I'm honored. And I appreciate your time. I really do. So I think obviously this World Cup is full of excitement. The first round already enters with some huge bangers, some massive games, and possible deciding games. And I should have what is your feeling about this World Cup? How are you feeling?
Man, I'm really excited for it. More excited than I've been for previous ones because this one is actually open to me. More open than in usual cases. Usually it was like, okay, New Zealand's going to win. Hopefully someone else gets them. Now it's like, okay, New Zealand will probably win, but there's a few chances that they will actually slip up and not make it to the final. Look, I don't want them to lose. I'm not one of those guys that just want the All Blacks to lose the whole time, but I feel excited that there's a lot of teams going for the cup, and that's how rugby should be. It's not supposed to be a one-horse race.
Oh no, exactly. I'm completely with you there. I think this is definitely something massive for world rugby, and it's one of the first times I'm seeing from people from all walks of life, every country, the North especially, exploding with people who are excited. I mean, I felt the North has sometimes felt excluded in this, especially the last World Cup, all Southern Hemisphere semi-finals. I think that it's important to include them. They are half of if more than half of world rugby, especially considering the size of the following and the size of the playing pool there. They need to be represented in this, and that's what really excites me to see for the first time I think ever. The North really is competing properly and showing what they can do in this World Cup.
Yeah, it's basically, look, France has always been doing their thing in Rugby World Cups. England, I mean, they have their heritage, so I'm just happy to see them back there. It's just good to see everything back to how it should be. It looks like a Rugby 08 game again. Everyone can beat anyone. That's how I like it.
No, exactly. Talking about Rugby 08, have you seen that they brought out a Rugby 20 game from the guys who did Rugby 18? It's not bad. It's not bad. It needs some work, but it's in beta stages. But it's exciting to see that there's some people working on this for us.
Yeah, look, I'm always negative about the games because I've been so positive about the game and then let down every time. So I'll wait and see for it. I'll wait and see it, and then I'll get excited. But I did look at the beta, and it's exciting to see that they have moves in there. The backline can have a bit of moves. Stuff that did irritate me, though, is like the tackling sounds like they're hitting a punching bag. It's stuff like that.
No, that's still heavy beta. Also, the computer at the moment doesn't know how to tackle, which is terrible. But yeah, no, it's a lot of work. But it saddens me because I think rugby it would be such an outstanding game to play, and I mean already is. I know people still play Rugby 08, and that shows you how good even a basic rugby game can bring people together and enjoy. So yeah, that's just a side note, but it's quite fascinating.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, side note.
Yeah. Cool, man. I appreciate it. So I thought let's not get into it. I don't want to make this too long. So let's get into it. Let's look at the first game, the big opener, the home team versus Russia. The team Russia effectively lucky to be in this World Cup versus the team that I think deserves to be in this World Cup. They really have showcased, and I found this hospitality, and everybody online saying that the hospitality there is insane. And I think I'm so glad that they're the ones hosting this. So I just want to go. What are you thinking about this game?
Look, Russia, yes, they are a little bit lucky to be there, if, like you're saying, a little bit lucky, but sometimes those guys are the guys that grab it by both hands and they use it. Russia, they do have a little interesting, the team dynamics feels kind of like, if you want to explain it, like an old school Bok team. It's a lot of front pack dynamics. big forwards. That's what they do. That's the grunt of their team. Versus Japan, who likes running with the ball, going wide with it. Actually, a smallish team. So it's two teams that's completely different.
Opposite.
But Japan hosting it, they are gonna fire in this one. I mean, they with the World Cup that was held there the other time in soccer, it was massive. So I think the Japanese rugby is going to be huge with their fans behind them. I think Japan is going to go well in this one. I think they'll probably beat Russia by 3 or 4 tries.
I agree with you. And I mean, one of the biggest points here is, as you said there, that contrasting playing styles. The one trying to play a very fast, open, moving game and a popping game. The other one playing a very solid, massive player game. And the big question here comes in then is that if Japan can keep the ball and spread it, they're going to be able to do it well, and they will punish the Russians. What concerns me a little bit is obviously the weather conditions for this weekend seem to be pretty much throughout Japan. We're getting quite a bit of rain from what I can see, quite a bit of bad weather, and obviously high humidity has been the whole week. So will that affect, you think, the Japanese ability to fulfill their game plan, and will it benefit the Russians?
I think it's going to be a different way around. It's going to benefit Japan a lot. They know how to play there. They can spread the ball in that conditions. It was actually interesting to me to see in the week a lot of players are practicing with tape around their fingers. And that's something you've seen just with Japanese players in the past. If I think of players like Oromaru, he was a player that always tape around the fingers. That's something that Japanese players do to get grip on the ball. They know these conditions. They know what to expect. The weather this weekend, I am a bit scared though, because they are predicting a lot of rain. They said there can be a chance of cancellations of games. And what happens then? It's a 0-0 draw for both teams. That's not going to be ideal.
Exactly. That's going to upset, I think, a lot of tactics for a lot of these teams. It could change the way these pools end up, really. And I mean, I think every team is concerned that it's going to really be a massive drain on their ability. And obviously, some of these games are essential for them to make it through. A draw would really hamper that. So yeah, no, I agree with you fully. I think Japan definitely know exactly how to play, and I think Russia. The biggest thing is if Russia gets onto the ball, I think they'll have a hard time to stop the Russians just from a brute force method. But if they will easily get around, I think, the Russian defense, which I often feel bunches. So that's where I think they're going to have a hard time. And if the Japanese get around that, they should run through the try line rather simply. And I agree with you. You're accurate there in that 3-4 range. I've gone for my SkinnyBru pick, I think about 30 in that. And I think that's fair if you think about it.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Awesome. So the next game is quite an interesting one. The Aussies, Fijis. This game is interesting for one reason is I'm not sure if obviously Australia were playing their full strength abilities in their warm-up game against Samoa or not. But that Samoan game was quite a scare, in my opinion, for the Aussies. I know that they have their famous victory over the All Blacks a couple of weeks before that, and then they got clobbered. But the question here being that, is it an Australian team of just unpredictable ability, or is it an Australian team that isn't? Where are they firing? How do you feel about this? Are the Fijians going to topple them? What is the situation?
That's a difficult one. Like you said, we don't know where they are at the moment. They had a massive loss. They had a massive win. Last time out against Samoa, they didn't look like a team that could win a big game. I mean, Fiji is, to my opinion, better than Samoa. Fiji is a team that could upset bigger teams. They are like my tier 1 team. I call them tier 1.5 because they can challenge teams in the tier 1. So it's a very difficult question, man. I think Australia, though they have a good history in Rugby World Cups, the presence of Pocock being back, don't underestimate that. That's a very big factor in their team. Him just being back, it does show kind of the resilience of that team. He's the epitome of that team. So I don't think they're going to have a big victory, actually. I think Fiji is going to give it to them. But I think Australia is still going to win, but maybe by 10 or so points.
I fully agree with you. I think that that's definitely the right place to put them. And it depends completely on the type of Australian team that arrives on the day. They're playing very Frenchy in the way that they play, that you're not sure what type of team is arriving. And I think that's very much down to the culture of the Australians. I think that their culture is really letting them down. And on the Fijian side, they're playing for a lot of pride. They want to get to the next stage. I remember when they beat Wales in the World Cup. It was one of the biggest moments in Fijian rugby. They are amazing to watch. Their audience is amazing to watch in sevens. And I think you cannot underestimate that Fijian side when they come onto the field and show what they got. And if Australia give them half a chance, they will slaughter them. I agree with you. Australia most likely will take this, but it's going to be Australia's to lose.
Yes, yeah. I think Fiji will actually gun for this game as well. They will have a target there. I think Fiji will try and win this one. So, look, those big guys in that back line, you give them a couple of breaks. I mean, they flanker, their one flanker, I forgot his surname now. I think it's something with an R. His second position is center. That's
No,
the
exactly.
dynamics. They play
Exactly.
everything. They're going to run with that ball. If they get gaps, they're going to score tries. They can score a lot of them.
I mean, like if you give it to one, if the ball is in the tight head and he has space, he could run like a wing any day. So that's the kind of thing, and it obviously is bred a lot of from their seven side, which is obviously world class. That kind of style, and I've got a feeling that they're going to evolve rugby in that way. That even if you look at like the way that, for example, New Zealand took out Owen Franks into there, didn't bring in Owen Franks. I think that Evans and Hansen might not admit this, but I think they might be copying a little Fijian style when it comes to picking players that are every player is as mobile as effectively your center. Every player can move the ball, have very, very tactical play, and moving away from a very, very fixed set piece play and much more to focusing on the open field. I'm not saying it's the right style, but it's definitely a Fijian style that has worked for them.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I don't think it's the right style, especially for this World Cup. I think set pieces are going to be very important. So
yes.
Just touching next point, that Owen Franks, I think it was a big mistake, but we'll still talk about that.
Exactly. So the next game is probably, I'd say, my second favorite game of this first round. I mean, it's a cracker. It decides, in my opinion, second place for this pool C. It's going to be a massive one, and that's Argentina France. Mainly because both teams are great in World Cups. Both teams are not firing to all the cylinders they need, but yet there's X factor there that you just can't picture until the game happens. Talk to me. How do you feel?
Look, in this game, you're going to see some amazing tries. That's what I can tell you now. There's going to be some long-range runs. There's going to be some cross kicks in this game. It's going to be great to watch. Both teams aren't at the best at the moment, but like I also said, it's both of those teams are those kind of teams that really pitch up at World Cup time, especially France. They are a team that really, at World Cups, they are a different team. They can come into a World Cup completely down in the dumps. Because France is, I'm doing another video, like France is a team that they lost against Tonga in the 2011 World Cup in the pool stages, and they went to the final. They're very unpredictable in World Cups. So we don't know what's going to pitch up on this field. It's going to be massive. I know that, though, because it's a determining factor in that pool. Whoever wins is going to get that second spot in the pool, unless something miraculous happens and England loses to one of them later on.
Exactly. I mean, like, there are some massive players in both sides. I look at Bamba Bouba and from the French side, and then obviously also you've got your Karibi, all of them on the Argentinian side. Both teams have got some world-class players that can bring the hurt when they do. They just haven't fired on all cylinders. Argentina, my biggest thing there being that the team once known for the best scrum in the world just doesn't seem to be able to pull it together. And that's really disappointing because everybody was saying after the Super Rugby, the team that's effectively the Argentinian team that took on the Crusaders and gave them one hell of a game, effectively a baby All Black side, as the Crusaders are. Yet they haven't been able to do that in the national side. And that's what I'm not sure if it's just a case of that it took a few weeks to warm it into it and the World Cup's going to show it. And if that's the case, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But if it isn't the case, I'm quite sad because I think that there's a lot of potential in that team and the players there are outstanding.
Yeah, look, what happened in Argentina was they had in their local game, they had a little bit of a change in the laws around their scrummaging that no one else in the world had. And that really affected their youngsters coming through. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. That's some of my subscribers actually helped me get to that point and actually know what's going on. But yeah, it's really sad because it was one of the best scrums you could find in the world. It was a scrum that was feared by many.
Even South Africa.
You analyze the game, you were scared about that tactic. You would rather go for a line out or rather run with the ball than ever face them at scrum time. Now at this stage, the scrums are the one thing that is making them lose. But I think maybe the form from the Super Rugby, I don't know what might be going on, but I think maybe in the Rugby Championship, they kind of had, I don't want to say a breather, but I want to say they kind of slacked off a bit or something in those lights. I don't know. I don't know if I could say that, but they are tired though. That's what I can say. I think they were tired after the Super Rugby. They were tired after the Super Rugby. The Rugby Championship was very close to the Super Rugby. I think now they had a little bit of a break. I think they could come back and they will be back to how we know them as the Jaguares.
Exactly. No, I've heard a couple of subscribers say similar things, saying that I do not write them off. They had to play the fight effectively. Their entire team played a World Cup final in the Super Rugby final, whereas obviously South Africa and Australia never made it there, and New Zealand have a much deeper pool to pick from, so it doesn't affect them as much. And some could say it did affect them, considering how they played against them in the first game in the Rugby Championship. That was a really close game. And I mean, if you look at that first Argentinian game, I'd say there was still fight. If that's the team that arrives at the World Cup in the first game of the Rugby Championship, that's a quality team. So I think that it's a case of, it's very possibly that these few weeks of rest and that could change this team, and we could see a whole new Argentinian team dominating this tournament if that's the case.
Yes, in that case, yes, I think so. But for my prediction for this weekend, I did put down France to win, though. I do think France will win it by not a lot, though. I think 6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly. I unfortunately did put France down myself with 6 or 7, just because of the fact that I feel when it comes to World Cups, France brings something special. They're the only non-English speaking team to make it in a final, and they are always exciting in a World Cup. So I did put them down by not by much, and it's definitely going to matter hugely on the main. Also, probably my other reason I did that was the weather is going to play a part. I know Argentina is a little bit is similar weathered, but the fact of the matter is their playing style is popping and running in really, really fast-paced game, and I think they won't be able to really execute it fully in this weather. Whereas I think France are used to the Northern Hemisphere, playing in a lot of those conditions and playing a lot more tighter game when they need to, and should be able to pick it up. Also, France, I think I've got a lot of young talent that are coming into this World Cup from previous under-20s World Cups that really definitely are going to show a lot of quality in this World Cup.
Yeah, no, definitely it is going to be that case. But both teams have young guys coming through. Both teams have talent. Both teams going to run very similar sides, actually. But I think the French scrum is going to help them a little bit.
Exactly. No, for sure. Awesome. Okay, so we came to probably, in my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend. Some people will argue with me, but the biggest game of the weekend to me, and a lot of people agree, the New Zealand-South Africa game. So here, I'm sure we've brought up many channels. You'll probably bring out some more channels discussing this game. I will too. But kind of just like an overview highlight of it. How do you feel? Where do you think South Africa needs to focus to win this? Where are the All Blacks going to target us? Is there maybe some things from Steve Hansen that is left in the closet until now? Are there stuff from Rassie that is hidden under his Hilux bucky until now? What is the situation?
Man, these two, Hansen and Erasmus, I think they are some of the smartest coaches you can find. They are as you will say in Afrikaans, they are scallum. They will hide stuff.
That's
They have
a
something up. Both of them have something up their sleeve. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if he's going to go with Barrett again at fullback. I think he'll probably. I know Mahunga was injured a little bit while ago, but I think he's probably back now. As far as I know, he's back. I think he'll probably go at fullback, but I think they're going to try another tactic. Maybe try and kick us into our own half this time instead of trying to run us into our own half. But look, what happened in the previous game is we kind of forced them to make errors in the game that we drew 16-all to them. We forced them to make handling errors and so on. So I think they're going to have a plan for that rush defense that South Africa keeps on doing against them. South Africa is going to do that in the initial stages. I can promise you that. It's working, so why not do it again and see if it's still working? They're going to try and make a plan. Hopefully, Rassie has another plan. Or I should probably not say hopefully, but hopefully they have a plan for that. It's a difficult one, man. I think it's going to be similar to the one that we saw in Wellington, actually. I think it's going to be very tight the whole time. I think there's going to be some mistakes as well. People are going to try and run with the ball. It's not going to go out wide. You're not going to see the ball going out wide. Everyone's going to try and close the wings in. I think it was Barrett that said they're going to try and close in the wings this weekend. And similar from South Africa, they've been closing in wings all the time. That's what the defensive structures are doing at the moment.
exactly
So all the wings are going to be
rush.
tied. All the wings are going to be tied up. I think it's going to be kicking to the corners because guys like Willie, he likes joining the line. Guys like Barrett, he likes joining the line. So you can get a couple of fullbacks out of position every now and then. So with wet weather conditions as well, that seems like the obvious choice. The smarter choice is to kick it to their half, try and make them make a mistake, get your scrums going, try and get that ball back.
Exactly. I feel that is definitely where they're going to focus it. Both teams, I think, are going to try and exploit the other team for it. Obviously, my concern being that will Henson try and exploit the inexperienced wings we most likely will pick in Mapimpi and Mapimpi mainly. Colby, not so much. Colby, I think, is actually quite experienced. I think he's experienced beyond his caps. But Willie, I think it's going to be essential for Willie to have the game of his life. He hasn't had the great games this season, but I think he's going to have games of his life to make sure that he can hold back. And I mean, there's a lot of people arguing that the Barrett Richie combination will happen. Other people are saying they're going to go back to the default where they're going to have Barrett in the beginning. I'm of the opinion, although I spoke to Unbiased Rugby, he feels the other way. I'm of the opinion they're going to play Richie at 10. They're going to play Barrett at 15, just because of the fact that they tried it already, and there's no better way to warm up into a World Cup. This is not a must-win for either team, even though it's a massive game. I think this is where Hansen wants to see, is this worth going into the quarterfinals with? If it doesn't work, they've got three more games to warm it up into, and then the quarterfinals happen. Whereas the other way might not work for them. I think he was forced into this with Damian McKenzie being injured, and it's probably the closest we're going to get to Hansen scrambling for an answer.
Yeah, look, I have to agree with you. I think Mahunga at 10, then Barrett at 15. We could be wrong. We'll see midday tomorrow. But I think that's what they're going to try and do, especially if they're going to try and do a kicking game, because then you have both of those kickers on the field. I don't think they're going to try and put Ben Smith on the field again. I think they're going to go with the Crusaders wings again, because Ben Smith does give you that other option as a kicker. But I think they're going to go with that explosive wingers. If they get a shot, I think Colby's wing, he'll be fine. Colby's defense is very good. But it's going to be up to, is it Reese plays right wing, right?
Yes.
Is it Reese that played? It's going to be Reese up against Mapimpi.
Correct.
It's not the best defense over there. So it's going to be difficult. But Reese's defense, also not the best. Mapimpi can exploit that as well.
Exactly. I think, but I've got a feeling both teams are going to play to exploit that side. I think the All Blacks will have either Ben Smith or Ricky Ione on the other side, which is going to be good options. They've got strong defense. Ricky Ione and Ben Smith, I don't think have had the greatest games. They've had a pretty good game against Tonga, but everybody did. But I think that both teams are going to rather look at the other side, the Mapimpi and Severi side, and see who can catch them off guard. That's going to be a great, because I agree with you. All Blacks are going to try and pull the rush defense on us too, and that might be something that really helps us, because they're going to. I think it's something that we've had more time to perfect, and it is nice to see the All Blacks almost follow suit a little bit behind us and try our tactics out.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have the All Blacks kind of have to adapt to another team style instead of the other way around. It's great, but you could be scared about that because, like I said, Hansen, he's a mastermind. He can have a great plan, but it's been 2 years now. He's still struggling to figure it out. Hopefully, this last 2 months hasn't changed anything.
Exactly. He can figure it out in December. At the moment, he mustn't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, figure it out next year.
Exactly. But I mean, obviously, I think probably one of the biggest talking points, in my opinion, where I really feel this game is going to be won or lost, and similarly to the previous one, is in the scrum. The fact that Owen Franks isn't there, is this going to hurt the All Black scrum hugely? Can South Africa exploit this into penalties? Because the other fact of the matter is, South Africa, if they aren't scoring tries, they're going for poles. And if one of the best places to get your penalties at the moment is scrumming, killing the opponent's scrum, and Pollard's boot is on point. Obviously, later on in the game, we can have a France Steyn 60-meter, hopefully. So is that going to be something South Africa is definitely going to focus on and try and really exploit, considering the level of our scrum?
Look, the props that the All Blacks do have is still very good. It's just that level of experience. That's the problem. So I think in the initial stages of the game, maybe just in the start, pressure might get to the younger guys of the All Blacks and might see a couple of penalties. There go the Springboks way. But then they'll settle in. Then both scrums are going to be even. The scrummaging has been good of those younger guys. Then later on in the game, say it is a close score and they have a stressful scrum again, then you need those guys like Franks to come on to the field, and he's not there. So I think it's only going to be maybe in key moments where they're going to miss Franks. That's what I think, because look, like I said, the scrummaging is going to be important in this World Cup, especially if it's raining and with a slippery ball. So that's when I think it's going to be important, just in certain areas, in certain very important areas that they really need an experienced head on the field. Like we are using Beast at the moment, bringing him off the bench, closing out a game with one of the most experienced props we have in the world. He can do it. You know, he's not going to put a foot wrong. He's going to do the job. And that's what they are missing with Franks. I think putting a prop that can play with the ball, it's not a good idea. Maybe a different World Cup in New Zealand, maybe, but this one, not the best, because the ball isn't going to be flying around the whole game. Maybe once or twice, you could see the ball is very slippery in that Japanese South Africa game.
Exactly. No, exactly. I feel that that's going to be essential, and I mean, it's not only going to be in I agree with you in that, but I think what also gives South Africa even more of an upper hand is that it's not just that we have two great scrummers. I think we have four of the best scrummers in the world in our team, especially with Trevor Nyakane, Beast, and you've got Koch and all that, like really strong plaque. So I think it's really nice to see, and I've got a feeling that Rassie is going to effectively at that 50-meter mark, when that scrum from New Zealand starts to get a little shaky, push another fresh legs of scrum onto them, which could also have a massive impact going into the dying minutes of the game.
Yes, exactly. That's where he's going to put on Beast. In that, he's going to mark key areas that he wants to score. Key places where if we're on that place in the field at that time, you need to score now. If it's going to be a key area at the end of the game, he's going to put Beast on there, and he's going to sort out that and get a try for us.
Yeah, exactly. No, perfect. I think it's going to be a fascinating game. I'm really excited for it. What are your opinions? Well, who's getting it? Who's winning this one?
That's a tough question, man. Uh, Look, everyone's gonna say I'm biased, but I think South Africa is getting it
Good.
because
You're on the channel called Modern Bach. It's tough to be otherwise.
okay, yeah, I'm not on my channel at the moment. I'm on yours, so uh, I think the Boks are gonna win it because they've been there for 2 or 3 weeks at the moment. Uh, they've used to the conditions. They've played there as well. That's the important factor. Not being there for a long while, they've played there.
You're the only team besides Japan. It's true.
Exactly. They've played there. They've been there for long. The other teams have only been there now a week. I mean, seriously, that's not a very long time for a massive clash like this. I mean, for the other clash that New Zealand and South Africa had previously in Wellington, the South Africa actually pitched up a little bit earlier, and so on. That's been happening the whole time. So it's been showing if South Africa has a little bit more prep time, they can upset. So I think South Africa is gonna get it very close, 1 or 2 points.
Exactly. I agree with you. I think that it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game. I put 3 on SkinnyBru confidently, but I would be lying if I said I was very confident about this one. This one is probably this is an insane game. Anything could happen, and there's so many things that are going to change the result. Is the drop of one ball could alter a win or a lose here. It's going to be exceptionally tight.
The call of one ref could change the call, the whole game.
Hold thumbs, hold thumbs. There are no cards in this game. I just don't need that because I can guarantee you, whoever team wins, the other team will just cry foul.
Yep, yep. It's
Exactly.
like that.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is the Italy-Namibia game. This should be a relatively sealed one for Italy. How are you feeling? Do you think Namibia have something to upset, or is it pretty much in the bag for Italy?
Look, the Namibia, I don't know if you watched the Namibia Southern Kings game the other day. It was streaming. They're basically on par. So if you compare Namibia to the Southern Kings, and now you compare the Southern Kings to Italy, which one's going to win? It's Italy. I think that's what's going to happen. Italy is going to win. To me, this isn't going to be the game Namibia will be targeting to win. They'll be targeting Canada or one of the easier games. They won't be targeting Italy to win. If they do, that's going to be a national holiday in that country, but it's not going to be a win for them.
Exactly. I don't think they're focusing on it. This is not the game that they're planning to get to. They want to win, and I think Canada is their answer for that.
Yes, exactly. So I think this is going to be the game where they're going to try and get answers. So they're going to try and run with the ball, try and see if they can score a couple of tries with their moves that they've been practicing and so on. So I think Italy by 3 tries.
I think that's fair. I agree with you. Yeah, I've also gone for about 15, 16 here for Italy. I think that they're going to. I don't think they're going to walk over them. I don't think it's going to be a massive win. But I think considering that Namibia did score a try against the All Blacks in the last World Cup, I think they're going to come with a lot of blood and a lot of fire. But I don't think it's going to stop the Italians. I think it just might be a massive burst in the first 30 minutes. But I don't think they're going to be able to give them the pressure they need to win a game for the whole 80.
Yeah, look, what I'm expecting is actually the game to be close. That's what I'm expecting. Most of the game to be close. And then just key moments where Italy's just going to snap on the ball and score. That's what I'm expecting. That's what usually happens to the smaller teams. That's where I get my 3 tries. I'm expecting 3 mistakes, maybe in the start of the game, somewhere in the middle of the first half, and somewhere in the middle of the second half.
Yeah, just key lapses in focus that give them the other team the points here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Awesome. So next, let's get into the Ireland-Scotland game. Also, and this is probably, I'd say, third on my list of games for this round. It's really going to be a good one. I'm not saying that Ireland are very scared, but I don't think they're sitting down on this one. This is a massive game.
Ireland will be scared, I think. because they know what this game means to the Scots. The Scots will target the Irish no matter what game is next. They will target the Irish every single time, just down to what the heritage is between the two teams.
I think
I
they'll
think
lay
that
down bodies this one.
Yeah, Ireland will win comfortably, I think. Actually, saying that, I don't think that. I think Ireland will win, but not that comfortably. Maybe 2 tries. I think Scotland will give it to them. But yet again, that Irish team is just so strong. They're just so strong. You can compare them to the All Blacks, whereas Scotland, you can't compare them to the All Blacks, but you can compare them to a team that can show up every now and then and upset a team. And if they ever want to upset a team and brag in the faces of anyone, it would be the Irish. So they would want to target this game, but I don't think it's going to be a win for them.
Exactly. I think they're going to have to play out of their skins to take it. I don't think they are. I think it's going to be close up to about the 60th minute, very similar to when Ireland played Wales. They seem to like to give a team up to about the 60th minute to challenge, and then they're going to really start pulling away. The Sexton really putting his weight down and everything. So I think that's going to be the interesting part of the game. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a tight one for Scotland to be able to pull anything further than that. Although, to be fair, the Hogmeister himself will be quite a factor, and it's something that the Irish are going to be focusing on. If he plays well and if he can get himself into spaces, it can be a tough day at the office for them.
Yeah, and Finn Russell at number 10, he's also very dangerous. Those two together, it's like Barrett and Mahunga, basically. So They just need to click in and something could happen. They have a dangerous squad. I'm sad not to see Hugh Jones there. I do like Hugh Jones, but the last year hasn't been amazing for him. So I get it. Let's hope the Scottish pitch up. But the Irish want to win because actually the Irish... This is how the pool ends. If Ireland win, they might face South Africa or New Zealand in the quarterfinals. If they lose, they might face South Africa or New Zealand in the quarterfinals. It's not the greatest thing to play for, is it?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you got a question that's like the lesser of two evils here. It's going to be a tough one either way. So, in my opinion, it's also not a dead... and that's also what maybe gives Scotland a little bit of a chance here, is that it's not the end of the world game for Ireland, but it is a massive pride game for Scotland. They're here to show what they are worth, and they're going to do. And the fact of the matter, it is the first game for them in this World Cup, meaning that the players are all fresh. They've got everything to play for. They don't have to worry about depth being an issue. Here is where they can make their mark in this World Cup.
Yeah, exactly what you said there.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, the English Tonga game. Very interesting. What are your feelings there?
English are gonna win far. I think they're not gonna waste them like New Zealand. I think it's not gonna be a 92-14 score. But I think the English will also just want to set a reminder there for New Zealand what they can do. Just tell them, listen, you played them the other day. This is what we can do against them as well. But I do think they will play their first team, though. I don't think they're going to play a second team. I don't think anyone's going to do that in the World Cup. I think you play your best team. You want them to be match fit, want them to play in those conditions every week in and week out. So I think they'll win by 40 odd, man.
Yeah, I've also got 40 here. That's kind of where I've put my pick at 40. But I do think that one thing that is a little bit of a question mark, we'll see when the teams are announced, that the one part of it is that England probably has the toughest path to the final if you consider like tough games in a row. And I do wonder if that might convince Mr. Jones himself to rather pick a slightly, maybe not a second string team, but some key players out of it that could, because of the fact that it's not a sure win, just to ensure that they don't lose steam before the final. Obviously, that's his goal in mind. So I'm considering that that pick will go down. I've currently got it at 40 if they pick the A team, as I think you're right. Every team's going to do. But if they don't, if I see that the teams, I would drop that down to about a 20 to 30, just because of the fact that I think some key, like your Farrells and some of the back three, your front row, I think your back three, your back row might get removed just because of the fact that they've got a very tough path to the final and they need to conserve players.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe what they'll probably do is select a team and just take off the big names early in the game. That's what I think they'll probably do, because everyone just wants to get that little bit of game time in this weather. That's what I think at the moment. So if you can get it against a little bit of an easier team, you'd want to have that.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay, so I think it's a close and shut one for England. Good win. Okay, so next one is the Wales-Georgia one. Another one which is a little bit of it should be a comfortable win. Do you also feel here Wales is going to be picking their effectively full team and really bring it to the Georgians, or how do you feel?
Yeah, I think similar to what I said with the England team, they're gonna pick basically their best team. Maybe like you also said, just the main guys maybe on the bench or take them off earlier in the game, but it's gonna be an easy game for the Welsh team. I mean, they've been very good. So I think they're probably also 40, maybe 50 odd. The Georgians, they've not been what they've always been, but they're also a team that pitches up at World Cups. You have to remember that they're a team that marks World Cups as a place to put them on the map.
Exactly. They're always a fun team to watch, and definitely I love to tune into their games, as it is a team that play with a lot of heart. And this is definitely they're not a team that focus on like one game to get a win. Every game is literally do or die for them. These 4 games are everything to this Georgian team, and that's really beautiful to watch. And I think they're going to bring it to the Welsh. The one thing I think the Welsh might bring a little bit more of a stronger team is just because of the fact that that last game against Ireland was not very flattering, and I'm wondering if Gatland wants to prove a point.
Look, that to me it was in that last game. I think, like I also told the Imbiber, the game was, the Welsh already was ready for their World Cup. They already knew what to do. They have their team set. So I think for that last Ireland game, you can't read too much into that game, because Ireland had everything to still learn and everything to still prove for the World Cup, while Wales, they were already settled. I don't think you can read too much into that one. That's like reading into that thrashing of New Zealand by Australia. That's to me how I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, you're right. You could be right. I mean, the fact of the matter is that England taught Ireland a lesson a few weeks, if not a week before. So I agree with you. They had a point to prove, and it could be just that you're seeing in that game. That Ireland had a point to prove, and Wales didn't really care. It was more about just getting some game time for players.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly
I completely agree with you. So in the next game, a little bit, two second stringers going at each other. Still a great game. The Russian-Samoa game. Or was that the next area?
Yeah, it's going to be more interesting though. It's going to be more interesting, this one. Again, it's going to be Russia, because this is going to be their second game. It's actually bad for them. It's very close
Yeah, it's a tight
together.
It's unfortunately something that happens to a lot of the tier 2 nations. It's unlucky.
Yeah, but I think Samoa has a little bit of an edge here, because they're going to be building on that game that they had against Australia. That game meant everything. Because if you watched that game, Australia did not dominate that thing. If the score doesn't mean anything in that game, the Samoa gave it to Australia, and I think Samoa's going to just also do that to Russia, try and get more points on the board, maybe try and get a bonus point from it.
Exactly. I think this is going to be a great game to watch just because of the fact that this is a game I think both of these teams are targeting to get some points. This is the game that they want for their win in the World Cup. I think Russia might target. Obviously, Samoa is targeting the Japan and this game, but Russia. The Japan game is an opening. That's a tough game to win just because of the environment and the situation. This is, I think, a much more open game for Japan to try to compete in. But to be fair, Samoa looked good the other day. They really did. They were playing very well, and they have some strong, promising ball runners that you can never discount in that Samoan side. So I'm going to definitely lean Samoan by a good, I'd say actually a comfortable win, just because of like 20 points or so, just because of the thing that I feel they're going to build on it. They're going to, the Russians are going to have a hard time to contain such a strong team, as they will be able to match them physically, but play a Japanese running style at the same time. So, and I think that's something the Russians don't yet have an answer for. Their defense gets bunched rather easily.
Yeah, I agree with your 20 points there.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into the last game of our analysis here, the Fiji-Uruguay game. Also interesting. Fiji obviously in their second game and Uruguay in their first. This one, how do you feel here?
In this one, I feel sorry for Uruguay because Fiji is definitely going for the bonus point here. If they aren't getting points in the Australian game, Uruguay is going to have a bad day out. Uruguay has looked pretty strong, though. If you've seen some of their games, if you read up on them as well, they've looked pretty strong. But no, it's not World Cup strong, because they've been competing against teams like Brazil and Chile and those type of teams. It's not there yet. It's not there on the par of Fiji. Uruguay does have some interesting players, though. They do have a very good front row. Very good front row. Their loose forwards are pretty good as well. And then the number 10, he's pretty good as well. And then the wingers, very dangerous wingers. You can think of them as Argentinian wingers, very dangerous wingers that can sidestep anyone. So that's good for them. But the Fijians, they can run over anyone. And that's where the problem is.
Exactly. I think the Fijians are going to target this game hugely for their bonus win to give them a chance to get to that quarter. And this is one game where they're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at this team. Uruguay will do very well to not concede at least 5 or 6 tries in this. They're going for that 4-try minimum mark, if not more, comfortably. I think that if Uruguay get a couple of good moves together, a couple of the wings get into their hands, as you said, and pops, I think they could get 1 or 2 tries maybe in, but I don't think much more than that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Uruguay, they'll get a couple of good ones, a couple of mauls as well. They do play that South American maul type of rugby as well. But that's about it. I think Fiji, they're gonna thrash them. I think Fiji will win by 4, 5, maybe 6 tries even.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I think I think that concludes the first round of the game analysis and looks. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. I hope you enjoyed it. And if there's any kind of final remarks you want to say.
No, just that it was really fun, man. We can do it again. I hope all your subscribers liked it. I hope you enjoy hitting the 100 mark, and I hope you grow a little bit faster as well. Thanks for inviting me on as well. And for some of you maybe that hasn't joined my channel yet, please go check that out as well. Cheers.
Perfect. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I'd love to join you on your channel a little bit. And yes, please subscribe. Guys, if you haven't joined SkinnyBru, please follow him on there. He's also got a great SuperBru pool and Facebook page and everything. I will add links down below that you can go catch. But thanks, man. I appreciate it and have a good evening. We'll chat soon.